Hey guys, my name's H. Amelia Smith, and I'm here with a presentation called Transgender 101, When the Living Hell Doesn't Mean to Be Transgender. Now, this is a person, and you are looking at this person, and you're going to make a few assumptions about who they are based off of what we call their gender presentation. But you could be wrong. See, what is on the outside could be different than what is on the inside, and this person could in fact be a woman. Or take this person. This person is a woman, or this person seems to be a woman just from the outside, but on the inside could really be a man. And it gets even more complicated than that, because we think of gender as this two-part hard stop line, when in reality, gender is much more complicated than that. Gender is much more of a wibbly wobbly, timey-wimey thing, to steal from Doctor Who. It's vastly complicated because it has to do with our identities. Now, most people think gender has to do with what is on your birth certificate. And this isn't your gender identity, this is your assigned gender. This is the gender that doctors decided that you were at birth, and it's not necessarily right. For example, let's take this person. Now, the way that they are currently presenting their gender is called their gender presentation. Who they want to have sex with is their sexual attraction. And who they are on the inside is their gender orientation. Now, a lot of people get a few big misconceptions from this concept. For example, they think that your assigned gender is instantly your orientation, and that's not necessarily true. While it's true in a lot of cases, there are some cases where no, it does not line up. And when things don't line up, you have a transgender person. Now, the next confusing piece is that people assume that being trans means that you're really gay. And I want to clarify this. This is definitely not true. The Venn diagram between gender identity and sexual orientation is two completely separate circles. Whether or not you are attracted to somebody of a certain gender has nothing to do with who you are on the inside. The next big misconception is people think that being trans is fixable, and it's not. This is definitively not true. The way to repair being trans is what's called reparative therapy, and unfortunately, that's catastrophic to most people. For reference, 80% of the people that go through that end up attempting suicide. 80%. 80%. If you made any other child go through such a procedure, it would be considered criminal neglect. Now let's go through some basic transgender 101. So are trans women like drag queens? No. Trans women are to drag queens as actors are to police officers. Just because you play something on TV doesn't mean that you are one. Trans women actually are women. Drag queens are men who like to pretend to be women. It needs to be noted that there's a difference between cross-dressing and true dressing. If you are genderqueer and you express that by cross-dressing, that's not cross-dressing. Cross-dressing means dressing from one gender to another gender. True dressing is expressing yourself through the way you dress. It needs to be noted that those two are different things. So if you need to know what pronouns to use, I have a quick little mnemonic. It's QUIP. Quick, understanding, and in private. Now, when you are talking to somebody, this means that the easy way to figure out their pronouns is take them aside privately, make it very quick, and say, "Hi there, just real quick, what are your preferred pronouns?" thank them very much, be very understanding, and then continue on like not much has happened. Remember, that's all you need to do. How many trans people are there? This is a number that's hard to calculate because everybody who is trying to study it is trying to study it from a biased perspective. You have a lot of people who are arguing against trans rights who come up with very low numbers, and people who are fighting for trans rights who come up with numbers as high as 3 or 5% of the population. Now, obviously, neither of these cases are true. The best estimate that I've found has been about 0.5% of a population, which was based off of a survey population done in the 1970s. However, that number doesn't include a lot of the statistical modifiers that could make those numbers lower than they are. So it's a big old grab bag. Why do people feel trans? The science is actually out on this. Um, Unfortunately, we don't know as much about the brain as we would like to. And neuroscience is still a budding science, especially when it comes to the hormonal system. We're still not entirely sure why people are trans. But we're getting close. The closest that we have is something called the brain sex theory. This states that different genders have different relative sizes of pieces of their brain. Um, and it says there are differences between men and women that you can see on screens. This has been proven and disproven, so it's hard to say as definitive fact. It's one of those theories that's still kind of in the air. If it ends up being true, it has a lot of questions to answer. If it ends up being false, then they have to come up with a better model for why trans people exist. But that's called the brain sex model. There's no one way to medically transition. Saying how do people medically transition is kind of a complicated question. There are many options and many things that people incorporate into their transition, whether or not they choose to go on HRT, for example. That's hormone replacement therapy. Um, and after 2 years of hormone replacement therapy, even the Olympics say that you have the same muscle structure and bone structure of a cis woman for trans women, and you're allowed to compete. That's how close you get. How bad is the discrimination? Um, there are people dying. That's the best way I can phrase that. And there's no one who seems to care. Um, Caleb Hannon has yet to be fired from ESPN, despite the fact that he outed a trans woman to her investors and to her friends, ruined her life, and essentially made her commit suicide. Um, CC McDonald was arrested after being the only one, after defending herself from people with Nazi tattoos that were coming after them with broken beer bottles. She pulled out a pair of scissors that happened to kill someone, or somebody else pulled out a pair of scissors and she took credit for it. In any case, CC McDonald was the only one that was arrested that night, and the only one that served serious jail time. You have Isla Nettles, her murderer walking the streets. It's just insane the number of trans women that they don't care when we die. Final bullet points. Trans women are women, trans men are men. Just think of them as that and you'll have no problems. Being trans is often a medical condition. For many people, it's not just a feeling, it's something that needs serious medical care. It's not drag, and we're not just really gay. And being trans can be scary, so, be friendly to your trans friends. I hope this helps. Thank you very much for watching.